Hi, Sage.
Hi, Dani.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Welcome back, guys.
Yeah, welcome to our podcast. We are
Silence of the Hags.
And we're your hags.
Woo-hoo.
Woohoo!
Oh my god, that was like the weirdest voice crack.
Dani's going through puberty again.
Finally.
Yes.
Give me titties.
Oh my god. Give me the titties. So yeah, thank you. This is our fourth.
We only have one episode each. One full episode each left for the season. After this.
True. So this is fourth to last episode. One more detour. Two more full episodes.
Serial killers.
Honestly, thanks for taking this wild ride with us.
Yeah.
This has been a fun season.
It has.
It's been a bummer, but also fun.
Mm.
Also short.
Yeah.
Short season. It's gone by super fast. So
short ass year, I want to say.
Honestly, true.
Like just the whole year has gone by so fast.
And especially like the last 6 months, I feel.
Yeah.
It's just been like, boom, boom, boom. Oh, it's December 10th. Wow. Okay. Wild. So, hopefully this next, although, in the famous words of Smash Mouth, the years start coming and they do not stop coming. So I think that this is going to be a trend for just how it is forever.
Fair enough.
So I guess looking forward to more fast years.
Yeah.
Fast seasons, fast times. Yeah. So how's everyone feeling after our last bummer episode?
Yeah. This one's a bummer, but it's definitely less of a bummer. Maybe not less. I take it back.
Okay. Well.
Equally as a bummer, but
equally as bummery.
Equally as bum. But I will say,
does it end with at least sort of some justice?
It ends with some prostate cancer. So
oh, that sounds like justice to me.
Yes.
Love it. We'd love to hear it.
Also, so this episode, we're going to be talking about Carl Eugene Watts. He was also known as Coral. So it was very hard to research him because then I later found out why he's called Coral. So his name is actually Carl, but his grandma and cousin, they're from the South, so they call him
Carl.
Yeah, Carl. I don't know how to say. I'm not a Southern. I don't know.
Carl.
So they call him Coral, but there's articles that call him Carl. There's articles that call him Coral. Okay. But they actually are.
C-O-R-A-L?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And even in my book, it's Coral, but his name isn't Coral. That's just what they called him.
God, he probably fucking hated that.
There was a lot of information on both sides. They would be completely separate articles and stuff. One would be about Carl and one would be about Coral, and I was very confused. And then I found out that was just his nickname. And they are one.
Yeah. I gotta say, grandmas really give the nicknames that stick the most.
Yeah. Danny Bear. I will be Danny Bear for the rest of my fucking life.
I've never heard that before.
Oh my god. My grandparents call me Danny Bear all the time.
I've never heard that.
You've never heard it?
Not once.
I think they tried to tone it down in public because they used to do it all the time when I was a kid.
I thought I was part of the family. This is probably, God, hurtful. It's fine. I'll survive probably. Well, I'm calling you Danny Bear from now on. Just so you know.
Thank you.
And so is everyone else who listens to this podcast. Thanks, so way to expose yourself.
I'm cutting this out.
Yeah.
All right. So, Carl Eugene Watts, known by his nickname Coral. I'm calling him Carl because I can't say Coral normally.
Coral?
The first time I saw that, I was like, Carl from The Walking Dead. Coral.
Yeah. Literally the meme.
Yeah. I was like, I can't call him Coral. So I'll be calling him Carl. So he's also known as his serial killer name is the Sunday Morning Slasher.
He sounds like a dick.
Yeah, he is an absolute dick. This guy is just a classic textbook fucking psycho. That's the best way I can chalk it up to. Yeah, I've actually never heard of him. And after researching him, I am shocked. Like, literally shocked. I don't know how he's not up there with, like, Ramirez and them. Like, that is how shocked I was when I was reading this. Mm-hmm. So, Carl was born in 1953, November 7th. So, he's a Scorp. In Killeen, Texas, to his parents, Richard Eugene Watts and Dorothy Mae Young. Might I just say, what a great name.
Dorothy Mae Young. That's pretty nice.
Richard was a private first class in the Army, and Dorothy was a kindergarten art teacher.
Wow, Dorothy sounds wonderful.
Right, I know.
How did you birth that monster?
I know. There was some head injury.
Oh, okay. Well.
So his parents separated before he was old enough to remember. I think he was around, like, the age of 2. So he was ultimately him and his sister were raised by his mother and his grandmother. So Watts and his mother moved to Inkster, Michigan in 1962, and she married a mechanic named Norman Caesar, with whom she had 2 daughters. So now that Carl was a big brother, wasn't really a role he ever embraced. He said he often felt isolated and alone in such a large family because it was him and his mom for quite a while. So when he was younger, many people described him as strange and awkward, and according to Carl, he was 12 years old when his fantasies of killing and torturing girls and women of every age started. So he was 12 years old, and he was fantasizing killing grandmas, moms, aunties, babies, just women in general.
Wow.
Girls of any age. You're not safe from Carl. He does not have a type. Just women.
Yeah. Love that.
Cute. So school had always been really challenging for Carl. So when he was in grammar school, he was a shy and withdrawn child and was teased a lot by the class bullies. His reading skills were far below that of his peers, and he struggled with retaining much of what was being taught. It was said, just for a rough estimate, that when he was 16, he had the reading capabilities of a 3rd grader.
Ooh.
Yeah. So when he was 13 years old, he came down with meningitis and had high fevers. So due to this, he was pulled out of school and held back a grade for lack of attendance. So if you didn't know, meningitis does affect your brain.
Yeah, meningitis is like something that sounds like a gum issue, but it's like a whole body issue.
Yes, correct. Yes. So that's the head injury. So in his time out of school, he entertained himself by hunting and skinning various wildlife. His grandma said he was always fascinated specifically with skinning rabbits, which I hate.
I hate that.
Yeah. So where he struggled academically, he did make up for in athletics. So he was a pretty fit dude. He was a part of the Silver Gloves boxing program that helped teach boys discipline and respect for themselves. Unfortunately, with Carl, this didn't translate. It only stimulated his aggressive behavior.
Yeah, Jesus. Well, especially if we look at head injuries. Mm-hmm. You're getting punched in the head. Yeah. I don't care if you're wearing gear.
Yeah.
Bouncing around.
So he was constantly in trouble at school for physically confronting people in a conflict.
Carl, you can't do that, Coral.
Mm-hmm. So Coral starts pretty fucking young. On June 29th, 1969, so he was 15 at the time, he was a paper boy. So on his paper route, he attacked and assaulted a 26-year-old woman named Joan Gaves in her home. So he repeatedly...
15?
Yep, at 15.
Jesus.
So he repeatedly beat her until she began screaming in fear, and the alarming noise is what caused him to literally just walk off the property and continue his paper route as if nothing happened. Yep.
Oh my God.
Obviously, he was caught and arrested.
Yes.
Because you literally put yourself in the crime. You worked there, my friend.
And then you literally are just like, oh.
And you're like, yeah, I gotta get the rest of these papers out.
Deliver those papers.
Yep. So when he was arrested, he told the police that he attacked the woman because he just felt like beating someone up. So this guy is fucked.
You're fucking crazy.
And that was only at 15. So he was sentenced to the Lafayette Clinic, a mental hospital in Detroit. And according to psychiatric assessment, it was revealed that he suffered from mild mental retardation and he had an IQ of 68. So he had an IQ of 68 and he was said to have a delusional thought process.
Okay.
So doctors also said he had a very passive-aggressive view of life and struggled to control his homicidal thoughts at 15.
This is concerning.
Yeah. So, though a police officer interrogating Watts after his arrest later said that he was really, really intelligent and he had an excellent memory. So, I mean, I'm going to believe what the doctor said. Sorry, bud.
Yeah.
So he was released from Lafayette Clinic on November 7th of 1969. And he... and he ended up graduating high school in 1973. Despite his below-average grades, he actually got a football scholarship to Lane College in Jackson, Tennessee.
Okay, can we stop fucking just letting people coast through college and get degrees because they can catch a fucking football?
Catch a ball and run fast?
Can we stop
doesn't
that?
Mean you should have a full-ride fucking scholarship
yeah,
with
that's not how it
like
works.
half a brain.
Yeah, maybe you should have like maybe a little bit of help because I guess you're doing something, but full rides? Thing of the past, honey.
Don't you worry, though, because not long after, he suffered a severe leg injury, and he had no other choice but to drop out because he couldn't play football anymore. So he obviously didn't have a scholarship anymore. So he ended up dropping out and returned to live at home with his mom. Like so within a year's time, he enrolled himself in Western Michigan University, and it was there that shit gets a little messy. So... immediately, reports of female students being stalked and assaulted on campus, kind of like reports of them came to the police. A lot of them at this one fucking campus. So on October...
this one guy who beat the shit out of some lady for no reason happens to be going.
Yep. So on October 25th of 1974, 23-year-old Lenore, I'm going to butcher her last name, Nizaki, heard someone at her door. When Lenore answered the door, a young black man stood before her asking for somebody named Charles. Before she knew it, the man was strangling her. She fought back relentlessly, and thankfully she managed to survive. So only 6 days later, on October 30th, 1974, Gloria Steele, age 19, also received a knock on her apartment door in Kalamazoo. It was a man looking for someone named Charles, and when she let in the stranger, he attacked her with a knife and stabbed her 33 times and discarded her body near the campus.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Once again, on November 12th, so literally like 13 days later, not even 2 weeks, a woman named Diane Williams was also attacked by a man under the same circumstances, so knocking on her door asking for somebody named Charles. Thankfully, she also survived, and when the man sped away from the scene, she was able to catch a glimpse of his license plate.
Oh, good. Good girl.
She informed the police, who learned that the car belonged to Carl Eugene Watts. Carl was arrested that December for assault and battery for the 2 surviving women who identified him in a police lineup. During questioning, he confessed to attacking at least a dozen more women, and he never admitted to the murder of Gloria Steele. Okay. So his attorney arranged for him to commit himself to the Kalamazoo State Hospital. Psychiatrists found that Carl lacked remorse for his actions and was impulsive, reckless, and emotionally detached. However, they did not think he suffered from any kind of psychosis and believed that he was able to distinguish right from wrong. They eventually diagnosed him with antisocial personality disorder. During Carl's stay at the mental hospital, he slipped into a temporary depression and actually attempted to commit suicide by hanging himself. Didn't succeed. He only ended up with a couple injuries. So in the summer of 1975, prior to his trial for assault and battery, he was evaluated again, this time under court order. So he went to the Center for Forensic Psychiatry in Ann Arbor. Psychiatrists found that he suffered from depression and posed a danger to himself and others. However, despite the behavioral problems, he was found fit enough to stand trial for the assaults. So he eventually was sentenced to 1 year in jail.
1 year?
1 year. He never stood trial for Steele's murder because prosecutors lacked enough strong evidence to convict him.
The same?
Yeah.
Literally, he didn't change anything. He just did everything the same. I guess because there's no one saying, yeah, he asked for Charles and then he murdered me. But, like, context clues, bitches.
Yep.
Also, 1 year?
Yeah.
You beat the shit out of how many people? And you got 1 year?
2 and admitted to 12.
That's what I mean. And you admitted to 12 more.
Yeah.
That's 14.
Yep. So he was released the next summer in 1976, and obviously he was eager to resume his deadly campaign against women.
Yeah, because it turns out you can do whatever the fuck you want to women and get 1 year in prison.
Yep. So Ann Arbor is 40 miles west of Detroit and the home of the University of Michigan. So in April of 1980, the Ann Arbor police were called to the home of 18-year-old Shirley Small. She had been attacked and repeatedly cut with an instrument resembling a scalpel. She ended up bleeding to death on the walkway outside of her apartment.
Oh no.
Yeah. We're coming up here on a lot of killings. Okay. Just forewarning you. There's when I say a lot, there's a lot. This is probably the most amount of names of victims that I've seen in a case.
Interesting.
So then Glenda Richmond, age 26, was his next victim just a few months later in July. Her body was found by her doorway, and she had 28 stab wounds. Cool. Next was Rebecca Huff, age 20. So this was only 2 months after. In September, she died outside of her door after being stabbed 54 times.
Jesus.
Yes. So a task force was then formed and led by Detective Paul Bunton, to investigate the murders that occurred within 5 months of each other. So all of those murders that we just talked about, they were all within 5 months. So the task force was dealing with no evidence and no witnesses either. So they literally had nothing other than people who had been murder victims. That's awesome. All they had.
Love that.
So Sergeant James Arthurs actually contacted the police task force after reading about the murders. He told them of his past experience with Watts. So this was the police officer who had arrested him when he was younger. And the similarities to the previous crimes that are now under investigation. By this time, he was working with his stepfather at a trucking company. He had a child and had later met another woman who he married. In October of 1979, he was arrested for prowling around in Southfield, Detroit. So the charges were dropped, and investigators did note that during the previous year, 5 women in the same suburb were assaulted on separate occasions, but with similar circumstances. None of them were killed, but none of them could identify their attacker. So by 1979 and 1980, attacks on women in Detroit and the surrounding areas became more frequent and violent in similar style. So these ones he was not convicted of them, but these are just some that were in the area that he was in and are similar to his style. So we have October 8th, 1979, Peggy Pachmara, age 22.
Sounds right.
Peggy Pachmara, was strangled in Detroit. October 31st of 1979, Jean Klein, 44, was stabbed at Grosse Point Farms in Michigan. March 11th of 1980, Hazel Konoff, age 23, was strangled in Detroit. March 31st of 1980, Denise Dunmore, 23, was strangled in Detroit. May 31st, 1980, Linda Monteiro was 27 and strangled in Detroit.
Sorry, so he's changing from stabbing people to death to strangling them?
Well, he tried to strangle the first victims, but they got away. Remember?
Oh,
the first 2 girls that he attacked, he strangled them.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So in between Denise and Linda was Shirley, who we already talked about. Mm-hmm. And then July of 1980, Glenda Richmond, age 26, was stabbed in Ann Arbor. September 14th, Rebecca Huff was stabbed in Ann Arbor. So by no surprise, in May of 1980, he was divorced. His wife stated that it was due to his strange behavior, including his habit of leaving their home for hours immediately after engaging in sex.
Jesus.
Weird. Yeah. So not only all those murders in Detroit, Canadian authorities also believed that Watts had crossed the border into Windsor, Ontario that year.
Really?
So Sandra Delp, age 20, lived through being stabbed from behind, and Mary Angus, age 30, of Windsor, escaped her attacker by screaming when she realized she was being followed. She picked Watts out of a photo lineup, but was unable to say for sure if he was the attacker. But detectives discovered that Watts' car was recorded leaving Windsor for Detroit after each episode. So it's literally right across the border. If you guys
don't know,
I mean, none of you fucking live in. I mean, my cousin lives in Windsor, but like literally, it's just right there. It doesn't take long to go up to Detroit. So by this time, obviously, he had fallen under scrutiny with investigators, and another task force was formed to probe the Sunday slashings. And Carl was placed under sporadic surveillance, and a court order was even placed.
Sporadic surveillance? What the fuck does that mean?
They didn't know for sure it was him, but they were pretty sure. It only gets worse. We're not even done here. So, and a homing device was placed in his car. So at the time, Watts was fired from his job as a diesel mechanic, and he moved south to Houston, Texas in March of 1981. Mm-hmm. Michigan authorities alerted Houston authorities about Watts, but he had already been accustomed to living under surveillance, so he found a new mechanic's job, started attending church, stayed with various friends and relatives, sometimes slept in his car. He was kind of a nomad at this point. But the one thing that stayed consistent was his murders. So, yeah, if you guys don't know, you can't really cross state borders with shit unless you have, like,
really?
Yeah, it's, like, kind of the same thing as, like,
crossing
Vancouver police can't arrest you in
in Chilliwack.
Burnaby. Yeah, or Chilliwack, because it's out of their jurisdiction.
Yeah.
So that's what happened here. They didn't have anything against him. They were just surveilling him. They thought it was him, but they didn't have anything against him. They can't follow him over state lines. So they alerted the authorities.
Honestly, that whole shit is
fucked up.
Yeah.
So again, we're coming into a long line of murders. So on March 27th, 1981, Edith Ledet, a 34-year-old medical student, was stabbed to death while jogging in Houston. 6 months later, September 12th, 25-year-old Elizabeth Montgomery was attacked while walking her dog at midnight, staggering into her nearby apartments minutes before she collapsed. 2 hours later, 21-year-old Susan Wolfe was knifed to death outside of her apartment nearby, presumed to be a victim of this.
2 hours later?
Yeah. It's just assumed that she was a victim of the same assailant because 2 hours later in the same fucking area.
Yeah.
So the new year brought no respite from horrors in Houston. In January, 27-year-old Phyllis Tam was found on the campus of Rice University, hanged with an article of her own clothing. Another Rice student, 25-year-old Margaret Fossey, was killed in the same month and found in the trunk of her car. Her larynx was crushed by a powerful blow that produced death by asphyxiation. On February 7th, Elena Samander, a 20-year-old co-ed, was found strangled and partially nude in a trash bin not far from the tavern where she had spent the evening. In March of 1982, Emily Lacroix was reported missing from Brookshire, Texas, 40 miles north of Houston, but authorities drew no immediate connection with the spate of unsolved murders. March 31st, 20-year-old Mary Castillo was found strangled and semi-nude in a Houston ditch. 3 nights later, 19-year-old Christine McDonald vanished while hitchhiking home from a party on the Rice campus. Suzanne Searles, 25.
Hard names.
Yeah, I know. Why do you guys have, like, such complicated names? Come on. Danica Shaw, get with it.
I was going to say, where are all the the Jane Does?
Yeah.
The Wilsons.
So Suzanne Shearles? Shearless. I'm going to say Shearles. 25, joined the missings list on April 5th. Her shoes and broken spectacles were recovered from her car in the parking lot of her apartment complex. Carrie Mae Jefferson, age 32, vanished after working a night shift on April 15th. 26-year-old Yolanda DeGracia was killed the following night and stabbed 6 times in her own home.
Jesus.
High school student Sherry Strait disappeared with her mother's car on May 1st. The car and her body were recovered together on May 4th. 2 weeks later, Gloria Cavalis, age 32, an exotic dancer, was found dead in a dumpster. Her body was wrapped in cast-off curtains. The morning of May 23rd, 1982, on a Sunday, Watts was caught fleeing from a Houston apartment where he had assaulted tenants Lori Lister and Melinda Aguilar. Lister was half drowned in the bathtub while Aguilar escaped by leaping off the balcony and calling for help. In lieu of $50,000 bond, Watts was charged with 2 counts of attempted murder plus burglary. Burglary. I did this last time too.
I think you did, yeah.
I can't handle that word.
Words are hard.
I'm going to take that word out of all my future episodes.
Yeah.
Plus burglary and aggravated assault. On the day of his arrest, another victim, 20-year-old Michelle Mayday, was found strangled to death in the bathtub of her Houston apartment. What the fuck, dude? Literally, what the fuck?
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Like a
lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah. And it's so... He just keeps switching from stabbing people to death and, like, strangling them to then he hangs someone.
Yeah.
To then he crushes. Like, that's
thing
not
is
very common.
Literally just, I think for him, it's just murder. Like, that's it. Like, it's just his desire to kill. It doesn't matter how he gets the job done, as long as he gets the job done.
Which is really interesting, because that's really uncommon.
So at first it said that he resorted to stabbing after he tried to strangle the girls and they got away. So he thought stabbing would be more efficient because he'd be able to kill them, like, right away, and they wouldn't really be able to get away. Or if they did, like, they'd bleed out before they got to anybody, whatever.
But then he switches back to strangling again.
Maybe he got his strength up. I don't fucking know. This guy's beyond fucked.
It's just crazy.
So, psychiatrists declared Watts sane, but noted that his pathological hatred of women, whom he regarded as evil incarnate. That's what we are.
That's ironic.
Yeah. The feeling dated back to his childhood. Watts said his favorite uncle was allegedly killed by a female relative. Nobody in his family confirmed this. He was later diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, and it was said that he viewed the world around him as pure fantasies which revolved to a large extent around the struggle against the evil he sees everywhere.
Well, that's a mouthful.
Yeah. That was also, for somebody with like a 68 IQ, that was a pretty big boy sentence. I gotta be honest with you. I had troubles comprehending that sentence.
Yeah. Buddy, you may suck, but props for actually coming up. Yeah, honestly, this guy is a real piece of shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Women are evil incarnate.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Cool.
Whatever you say.
You, like, love your mom. But, okay. So on August 9th, 1982, with jury selection underway for his trial, Watts struck a controversial bargain with the prosecutor's office. In return for his guilty plea on the burglary charges...
On just burglary? Right? Yes, you did.
Okay. Sorry, I was like, I just stopped to question
Did I do it wrong?
On his burglary charges and the acceptance of a 60-year prison sentence, the equivalent of life imprisonment in Texas, Watts would clear the books on several unsolved Houston murders while escaping trial for homicide. Yeah.
What?
With the deal complete, Watts compelled to serve a minimum of 20 years before being considered for parole.
But what happened to 60 years?
So 60 years, but 20 years, and then he's eligible for parole after 20.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So he confessed to 10 Houston murders, including those of the victims Wolf, Jefferson, Montgomery, Fossey, Samander, Searles, Garcia, Tam, Ledette, and Mayday. Mayday? I don't think it's Mayday. I think it's Mayday. Sorry.
Mayday sounds like an actual last name.
He also threw in some surprises, including a non-fatal slashing of Galveston, 19-year-old, attacked on January 30th of 1982, and the quote-unquote accidental death of 22-year-old Linda Tilley, found floating in Austin, Texas swimming pool on September 5th of 1981. Other non-fatal assaults.
Those accidental deaths.
Yeah. Oops.
My bad.
I didn't call it in. It was an accident. You know those S&M deaths, right?
Yeah. Deadass.
Other non-fatal assaults were also cleared in Austin, Galveston, and Seabrook, Texas. So Watts led authorities to the remains of victims Searles and Jefferson in Houston, directing other searchers to the bodies of Emily Lacroix near Brookshire, and was still talking when Michigan weighed in with the charges of the murders of Jean Clyde. Swapping testimonies for immunity, Watts ran his score up to 13 confessed murders with the Clyde case, but detectives suggested that the actual body count was a minimum of 22 victims. So on September 3rd of 1982, Watts received a 60-year sentence, and the judge declaring, "I hope they put you so deep in the penitentiary that you'll have to pipe sunlight to you."
Honestly, true. Yeah. I agree.
Tough talk aside, Watts remained eligible for parole, and Texas residents were outraged in July of 2002 when they learned that his release had been scheduled for May of 2006. What? So ex-judge Doug Shaver who sentenced Watts in 1982, told reporters, "It makes me kind of sick. The most unforgettable case I ever had before me, and the most dangerous person I've ever come face to face with. When he gets out, some women are going to die."
Yeah.
I like this judge. Doug, fucking get it, man. Get it.
Get it, Doug.
Good shit,
Dougie
Doug.
boy.
You tell him.
Yeah.
So Texas authorities denied Watts' fifth parole bid in November of 2002, repeating that the law required them to free him in 2006. There's like this fucked up law that like basically was like, yeah, in 2006, anybody who's on life, like, you gotta go. You gotta let him out. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah,
Yeah. So he would have been 52. So relief came from Michigan, where prosecutors announced a new murder in March of 2004. The victim in the case was 36-year-old Helen Dutcher. She was slain in oh my god, Detroit. I can't say these American cities. In a Detroit suburb of Ferndale on December 1st of 1979. So in 2006, they brought this shit back.
Jesus.
Yep. So Dutcher's murder was excluded from the list of homicides for which Watts had immunity for.
Haha.
Extradited to Michigan for April of 2004. Watts filed a not guilty plea, of course.
Of course.
At his arraignment on June 17th. Michigan jurors convicted Watts of first-degree murder on November 17th of 2004, where he got the mandatory sentence of life imprisonment.
Haha.
Yep.
Bitch.
So it is said that his body count is roughly anywhere from 80 to like 100, and I think it was like 116.
Jesus.
Yeah, this guy is like beyond.
Jesus, that is a lot of people. Yeah.
And he only confessed to, what did I say, 12 or 13 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, 14 was suspected. Anywhere up to 100, though. Because he remained his innocence and would not say a fucking word.
Piece of shit.
Yep.
Garbage.
So F that guy, but don't you
Truly.
fret, because he died
fretting.
in prison.
Good.
Yes, he died in prison of prostate cancer.
Sucks to suck.
Yep. Cancer, you did one thing right. So he was 53 when he died.
Yeah. Karma and cancer are both bitches.
Yep.
Buster Brown. Bye.
Fuck you, Carl.
Coral, you suck. And I can't believe they just well, you confessed to the burglary.
Yeah, literally struck a fucking plea deal with a literal serial killer.
Yeah.
Are you serious? So he was only actually convicted of 2. He was convicted of the last one that threw him back in jail, and he was convicted of the first girl, Georgia Steele.
Well, I'm glad that they at least brought him back into jail when everyone for some reason got released.
Yeah.
Because obviously you deserve to be in jail, but I don't get it.
No, I don't either.
This is a little bit of justice. A little, when I say a
smidge.
little bit, I mean a sprinkle.
Yeah.
Like the paprika deviled eggs of justice.
Literally.
But
I feel like maybe that's why actually, yeah, now that I'm reading this all out loud and not reading it in my head off my Word document, I feel like maybe that's why he's not as well known. Because at least Bundy and Ramirez and Dahmer, it was here's all the people that they were convicted of, period.
Yeah.
With this guy, it's here's the ones he's suspected of 14, convicted of 2, but it's actually up to 100. What the fuck?
I'd agree with that.
At least even Pedro Lopez, he was yeah, I fucking 300, I did it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Fuck you, but thank you for at least not lying to the end. At that point, what the fuck? I just that's the one thing I don't get. What else do you have to lose?
Well, I think that they think that they're gonna be able to appeal it and get out again.
I guess that's true.
That's a big thing, I think, for them. Which, I mean,
a lot of the times.
Yeah, I was gonna say it works. So,
yeah. Fuckers.
But yeah, that's really awful.
Yeah.
And that's just so interesting too. That I just think it's so weird that he kept changing up his MO. And, because that's not common at all. Normally their MO is, like, that's how they do their shit, and that's part of the whole thing, but it obviously wasn't with him.
Yeah. This guy is just an absolute piece of shit.
Yes.
Ew.
So, sorry, what were the 2 women's names that he was convicted of, like, properly?
Gloria Steele.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have the other one on my other page here. And Helen Dutcher. Helen Dutcher was the one that threw him back in jail. That was the one they brought back up in 2004.
Honestly,
from 1979.
It's awful, awful, awful that happened to you.
I'm so sorry, but I am so fucking glad you got some justice.
Yeah. And you know what? The other women, they didn't really get justice because it was never, like, he was never convicted of it, but at least he's not out and about.
Yeah, to say the very fucking least. Awful.
And honestly, I hope he suffered.
Yeah,
I hope that prostate cancer sucked.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it does. But I hope it really sucks. I gotta say, love that judge.
Yeah, literally.
Love
that's
him.
like I mean, like, not one of the first times, but like a lot of the times it's just kind of like, this is the justice system.
Yeah.
Like, but I like that he's like, no, this is fucked.
Yeah.
Like, this man should never, ever, ever be allowed to step foot outside of prison. Ever.
Yeah, ever.
Period.
And then the justice system was still like, okay, but maybe.
Yeah, literally.
The judge is like, no. And the justice system's like, okay, but like, what?
But like, just this once.
Yeah. And then the next time someone else does it, yeah. Either way, yeah. What an awful, awful tale.
Fuck you, Carl.
But I'm so glad. I'm so glad he died in prison.
Me too.
So awful and sad, but at least it's a bit more of it's a more satisfying end.
Yes.
Than some of our previous ones. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah,
he's dead. And he died in prison. Well, he died in a hospital because he was dying of cancer, but he died in prison.
Was it in a prison hospital, do you know?
No, I think they take you to a real hospital when you're like dying. But you're like, you're still like fucking locked up. And
I hope they didn't give him the TV remote.
No.
I hope they just...
Probably didn't even give him a TV, honestly.
I hope they gave him a TV, and I hope they gave him a remote, but I hope they just happened to forget to get him new batteries every time. That's what I hope happened.
Fuck you, Coral.
Fuck you, Coral. Those poor ladies.
I know. So many. And that was like the worst thing is like that because he didn't like confess. There's so many like open cases where like it seems like it was him.
Yeah.
But they don't know.
And
but
they
it was
probably
all in the
never
area.
will.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course it was fucking him. You're telling me that like all of these like Detroit,
it's just coincidence?
Like did people just get murdered on the street in Detroit every day? Like, like being stabbed to death? Like just random women walking home? Is that a thing? No, I don't think so. I hope not. Detroit, if you need help, blink twice. But like, what the fuck?
We can't see you, but blink really hard and we'll hear
blink really hard. I want to hear like those. Like,
Pink. That's funny. Yeah, no, I don't know. It seems like a bit of a stretch for it to just, who knows? It might have been him. No, it was him. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe one or two of them weren't him.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure that, like again, it does happen, unfortunately, but not all of them.
Yeah.
That's
not
too
every
many.
murder is a serial murder, but in the same area, you know. Also, fuck you for coming to Canada. Keep that shit over there.
For you little border
Carl, what
hopping
the hell, man?
mofo.
Really?
Yeah.
You just decided you're like, yeah, you know what? Windsor, Ontario.
Too. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Also, Windsor, Ontario is like small, isn't it?
It's tiny.
Like small.
It's so tiny.
What did you think was going to happen?
Literally.
I think he was just trying to do something that they couldn't convict him in the States for.
He was like, I'm going to do this and leave. Cool.
They'll never know.
They'll never know. Because, you know,
he's
Border
not
Patrol,
that wrong.
not a thing.
Yeah, true.
They'll never see me coming or leaving. Carl,
maybe,
they saw you both ways, bud.
Maybe he, like, boated across the border.
Maybe. That's risky.
I
don't think there's a boat there.
Water, you mean?
I don't think there is. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I could be wrong. Maybe there's a lake, but I don't think there is.
I think he was a driver. He was a driving boy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he lived in his car, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess he did. Absolutely rotten, Coral. Absolutely
Fuck you, Coral.
rotten. Coral, why? Well, I think it might be time for
a happy. What's your happy?
I didn't prepare one. Oh, I have one. Okay, my happy is that. Oh no, this might make you sad or maybe a little jealous, but
okay,
it's still my happy.
Okay.
I'm sorry in advance. But my happy is that our house has our Christmas tree up and we have our first present under the tree.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yes. Nova, my youngest sister, has a gift for Asia, my oldest sister. And it's under the tree.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, it's so cute. So that I would say is my happy this week.
Nice.
What's yours?
My happy is this is just all around, honestly, been a really good week. I've had a great
Good,
week.
I'm glad.
I ran all my errands over the weekend.
Nice.
And I know that it's like the most adult thing I could say. I hate it.
No, I love it.
But I ran all my errands. I did a big grocery shop, which I've been needing to do.
Nice. We love a big grocery shop.
Yes, a big Costco shop.
Ooh, yes.
I'm almost done all my Christmas shopping, which I've said before. I think I only have like 3 more people to buy for.
Nice.
And I made jerky, and Nico said it was really good, and that warms my heart because
You made jerky?
I made beef jerky.
Why did you make beef jerky?
Because Nico likes beef jerky.
Oh, you just made it for him?
Yeah.
Sorry, context, Dani's vegetarian. Which is why I was so confused. I was like, has something changed? No, that's fair. It feels really good to make
something that I can't try.
Well, and to
so,
make
I don't know
people
what
you
it
love
tastes like.
something that they love.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Dani's a wonderful cook, so.
Thank you.
I'm sure
I have an air fryer, and it has a dehydrating setting on it. So I've like dried fruit. Like I've made like pineapple chips, which were fucking delicious. It was so good.
It's really good to do that with strawberries.
Ooh, yeah, I'll have to do that next time. Yeah, but I've just done like fruit and shit. Like I did like apples. I really like dehydrated apples. But then I was like, I can make beef jerky. So I made beef jerky.
Nice.
And Nico said it was delish, so that warms my heart.
Good. Yay, beef jerky. My jealous for the week is that you have an air fryer. So I almost said eye fryer. All right. Well, I think that brings us to a close.
Yeah.
Where can they find us?
You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram at Silence of the Hags, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Pocket Cast, Google Podcasts.
Ooh.
And silenceofthehags@gmail.com for all your questions, comments, and concerns.
Yes, please send them over.
Yes.
Let us know how you feel about shitty-ass Coral.
Yeah, Carl, the Sunday Slasher, whichever you prefer, whatever you fancy.
And I think I'm just going to end off by saying, pay attention to what's going on around you.
Yes.
You shouldn't have to. It's not fair, but you do have to.
Yeah.
So just take care of yourself, ladies.
This is just, I think,
and
a prime example of, like, of course men are targeted, don't get me wrong, but this is just a prime example of, like, females being targeted for no fucking reason.
Well, yeah, I know that also, yeah, exactly. Men get targeted too, but I mean, I'm scared to walk alone at night at any
every
point.
morning that I go to my car, because I work very early, so I leave my house at 5 a.m. and it's dark every single morning. I like speed walk to my car, get in the car, and immediately lock the doors.
Yeah, me too. I immediately
because it's
lock
so
my
dark
doors.
out and my windows are fogged up, and I like there are people out at that time, but like, and I'm by myself.
Yeah.
And like, thankfully, my coworker, we wait for each other in the parking lot at work.
Oh, nice.
And we walk to work together.
Yeah.
But like that, like I shouldn't feel like I literally have to run to the car, but like, I mean, on the days that Nico drives me, I fucking saunter to the car, whatever. I'm with Nico, it's fine. But like on the days where in the mornings, like when I get up and like, I am on like high alert, but
between
like
your fingers,
literally, yeah. Like I hate when the car is parked like far from the house. Like if there's no parking right outside, I'm like, like running to my car. I'm like, fuck.
Totally. Yeah, I feel that. I'm lucky. I don't have a parking garage. I park outside of my house.
Yeah.
But it's really freaky when I'm coming home, because I work at Shoppers, so we close at midnight, so I'd have 2 midnights a week. And coming home and getting out of my car at midnight is freaky because there's usually people out walking around. And I'm like, okay, I have to make it 10 steps to my door.
Yes.
Can I make it? Can I put my key in the door fast enough? What if that person walking? You know, it's just freaky. Just take care of yourselves. Buy pepper spray.
Yes.
Please.
I think it's illegal here.
Buy bear spray.
Buy bear spray. You can go to that, like, American-looking store, the redneck store that we have out
Cabela's.
That one.
The redneck store.
Is it Cabela's? I thought it was Bass Pro or something.
Oh, I think there's both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well,
I went once and they had a fish tank.
A big fish tank.
A big fish tank.
I know there is a Cabela's, and I think it's the same thing as that store. Either way. Go to the redneck store, get yourself some bear mace.
Get some bear spray. And a knife. Knives aren't illegal.
I think that they can be. I think it's a concealed weapon.
But a pocket knife's not illegal. You can buy them in, like, a store.
Get a Swiss Army knife, y'all.
Yeah.
Corkscrew that bitch.
Yeah. That'd fucking hurt. Take him a minute to get it out.
Oh, truly, right? You'd have to rip it. Yeah, no. Corkscrew seems like the elite.
I'm just going to walk around with a wine opener now.
Yeah. Sharpen that tip.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.